Now she's going to start. Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Wednesday in the Rib. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, well, we got a couple of things. I'm going to read something before we get too far, but we've also had a request because we didn't cover enough of the sexual harassment complaint on Monday's show. People want to know more about it. So we'll have to discuss that a little bit, but I want to read this right away. I have been advised to edit it by the sender and by legal counsel. So I know exactly how to edit it. This is in regards to a mayoral candidate. I will not get into their name. I will not point fingers. I will just say, you decide. It opens up with the introduction. My name it begins with an A. I only A. Yes, did work for me a bit, but a very short time. His persona is that he will do anything to try to earn your trust, but once he is in, he steals from you. He was meeting with a bride and a groom, taking deposits that he never told me about until a few months before the wedding. So I found out. Oops, sorry about that. So I found out about it just a few months before the wedding. He had these people make out a check for $3,500 made out to him. He cashed it and never told me. I found out from the bride and groom months later after I had fired him for taking booze and food and utilizing my kitchen to make products to sell. He is a snake and liar and not to be trusted. I had a restaurant owner contact me in Boston who he evidently bamboozled thousands of dollars in product and money. He also worked for the Pink Bee, and she got rid of him. He also worked for Time Blossom and stole thousands of dollars in product. He also sexually assaulted young males that worked at the restaurant. The owner of the restaurant caught him diddling several young male workers there. He fired him. Dunny's Cafe tried hiring him, and he stole thousands of food products from him. I know of another restaurant he worked for in Cohasset that he robbed them. The list is even longer than we know. God only knows how he screwed the Newport guy. He might have set the guy up by reporting him. I would not put that past him. I'm not sure how he thinks some of this will not come out and bite him in the ass. But he truly is a con artist, and he screwed over so many people is preposterous and should be put in jail. So, as for the $3,500 check, I'm getting a copy of that check as we speak. I will have it for the show, and I will put it on the show. Because of legal issues, even though we can say anything we want about politicians, I've only verified approximately 75% of this information. And the sender does not want to be identified because they have received death threats and harassment. And that's not unheard of, because I know of another viewer who watches the show regularly. And she made a comment in regards to this mayoral candidate, which wasn't glowing, I guess. And somebody approached her with a gun. I will say for the record, I have forwarded this information to the state police and to the sex trafficking unit. I would not send it to the former police department, as I'm not sure what they would do with it, if anything. So, for those of you who have been asking, yes, we do have a tips line. You can send your tips to tips@scSTonline.com. Your information will be strict. We always protect our sources. But it's important to know that this information is getting out there. We already know that there are problems in the city. We have a history. Other cities and towns in Massachusetts and throughout the country laugh at us. We don't need to be laughed at even more. Please, please, please investigate your candidates and investigate them well. So with that, we can move on.
Well, before we move on, let me say that what you read are serious allegations. Okay, they are. I don't believe you're implying that was, the individual who wrote that may have the proof. But they are allegations, on this individual. But the fact is, I know who you're speaking about, and as I said, these things ultimately probably will, there will be a name attached to those allegations. But
eventually, yes, eventually.
But this death threat stuff will segue us into some other things, but we're going to begin. And yes, at the Monday show, we really got deeply into a lot of political aspects and candidates and a lot of things. And we had every intention of dealing with. There's a few major issues we have to talk about on a local level, national level. Obviously, there was a shooting at Fort Stewart, Georgia, but there was a lawsuit filed by an attorney. I believe it was Attorney Finglas.
Correct.
Who filed it, and the allegations contained in that lawsuit are extremely, extremely serious. We're talking about the allegations that there were. We all know about the alleged, and I think it's more than alleged, but it is alleged because of Coogan put the head of security on paid leave for a year, and then he disappeared into the sunset, did not prosecute him for allegedly having sex with one of his employees in the Durfee building. Now we have a lawsuit filed by an individual about sexual harassment after the superintendent of schools doesn't want to talk about anything like this in public, which they have an obligation to inform the public. We have this curtain of North Korea draped over everything in Paul Coogan's administration. There are allegations in this new complaint of drugs, of a
Retribution.
well, yeah, bullying, badgering, threatening, hostile work environment, you name it. There was also an allegation, I believe, that uh, that a student had an employee had sex with a student.
Correct.
Uh, so all these things are extremely serious. Um, they talked about being threatened, being bullied. Everybody lives in fear. We know that that's pretty well documented, but because of the way they keep that lid on with this administration, people are afraid to come forward. I know these things are not just allegations. I know these happen because I talked to an individual. I saw what happened to the individual, and they literally forced her out of the school system, and she works in another school system now. And they badgered her, bullied her, threatened her. Um, it was reprehensible what they did, but she just couldn't deal with it. She wasn't going to get them. She wasn't going to get the. She didn't want to get a lawyer and go through the suit. And kudos to this individual for filing something finally. But this reveals that culture of cover-ups that the Coogan administration has. This is unacceptable in the city of Fall River. And I will just segue into another quick thing because we can meld the two together, because the cover-up of that on the school side, and now we have had what happened with these recent arrests on the rail trail and at North Park by individuals who were allegedly, there were rapes, uh, guns stuck in people's faces, a few children had their bicycles stolen. There was all, and the first report I got was there were nearly 800 incidents, and then they released something that they're going to go down there and make a sweep. And if that's true, and if this has been going on for this long, and the public is just hearing about it, how unsafe that is, and that and these people allegedly are illegals, but they won't say that in Massachusetts. And they had fundamentally a gang that was terrorizing that area, and they would terrorize other areas at some point in time. This is totally unacceptable in the city. We should not be having, 150, 200, 800 incidents supposedly reported of varying degrees of issues. Obviously, attempted rapes, holdups, guns being brandished, because they were looking for illegal guns from some of the reports I heard.
Yes, they were.
This is outrageous. This is absolutely unacceptable. Where the hell are the city councilors? Where the hell are they now? I want to hear something about this at the next council meeting. I demand as a citizen that we are informed of these things. This is, I mean, listen, I know Massachusetts is a shithole. We are the most liberal state in the country, and I know that Maura Healey is sticking all the illegals in Fall River and New Bedford and the cities that they don't give a shit about, because it's pretty damn obvious. Look around. And this is the result. Yet our mayor and our council has not, they don't say anything about it. They just say, yeah, we need market rate housing so we can put illegals in here because nobody from Newton's coming down here, pal. But this is nuts. We've got a gang of allegedly illegal people formed that is terrorizing areas of the city. And we're hearing about it after we've had literally hundreds of incidents down there. I'm sorry. That's not acceptable. And somebody that's supposed to represent the people should start talking about seriously abiding by their constitutional duty to be answerable to us. And with that, CJ, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, you know, it's interesting because we've seen many things go on. And remember, when the city council passed the ordinance on trespassing on public lands, it wasn't supposed to be an arrest. It was supposed to be a citation. Now, supposedly, the 38 people that were arrested, 33 down at the rail trail, 5 people down at North Park or wherever it may have been, were all arrested on outstanding warrants and issues along that lines. Now, I have a problem because some people say that they weren't warned. Some people say they had not, that they just showed up in the middle of the night and plowed them under. Nikki Fontaine, who works in outreach for the city, has said that the people were reached out to, services were offered to them, and people denied them. So the city was left no alternative. I'm not saying that it was right. I'm not saying that it was wrong. But when people are being robbed, raped, beaten, that's wrong. Something's got to be done.
You think?
Okay? And you're right, Josh. They should have been picked up months ago if they had warrants. So now, Paul Coogan has gone out and bought a golf cart. Spend some more money, Paul, to go up and down the Quequechan Rail Trail to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, too little, too late. How long has this been going on?
Right. And to top it all off, somebody who we both know made a comment today that that's it. Clean them out of the rail trail, move them over to Lafayette Park. I guess people set up a few tents in Lafayette Park. They got to go somewhere.
Yeah, let's stick them in my neighborhood. That's right. They should be dealt with. If they need counseling, they need counseling. If they listen, he has ignored this for 6 years.
Yeah,
he does nothing. It's an election year now. He's going to get a golf cart. So we have the golf cart mayor. We're going to hire a golf cart. We're going to get a golf cart. How about the core issue here? This has been going on for I don't know how long. Okay. You're right, Josh. And let me tell you something, Josh. It doesn't do them any good to arrest them. We live in Massachusetts.
That's right.
Where we have a revolving door.
Right.
This is the worst state in the union. We are the most liberal state, and we're worse than California. California has more people who are conservative. The rich in California are extremely liberal, and they have a lot of money. So everybody knows about the California liberals because they run everything because they got the money. But Massachusetts is the worst because this whole thing about these states and their hypocrisy, they're going to let them loose again. The problem is that we continue. This is the worst state, it is the worst state in the union. And I'll segue into the crybaby Democrat hypocrites talking about the redistricting, the gerrymandering, Yeah, well, unfortunately, people get swept up in those things,
That's
and
it.
he's homeless. But therein the problem there lies in, Cheryl, that these people should have been taken care of a long time ago. We have a social issue here. These people are homeless for reasons, not all the same reasons either. They may be homeless because their rents went too high because Coogan doesn't build affordable housing, and they're trying to work, and but they tried to work. Some of them may have psychological issues. Yes, uh, you're right, Gene. I've got those statistics right here. The Democrats are complaining about gerrymandering, which is common. I don't agree with it, but it's legal. I Politicians have too much power already, and if they own a state, they gerrymander it. And the
That's what
Democrats,
they did to us.
the
That's what they did to us.
Democrats are the worst people in the world for gerrymandering. Uh, and okay, here's some statistics. The Democrats that are crying, where did they run? They were in Massachusetts. Maura Healey was with them. They were in Connecticut. So let me give you some stats, because the Democrats love to talk about equity. Equity. We should have equity. We should have equality. We should have diversity. We should have everything. Well, let me read you some statistics. They ran to Illinois with baby back Pritzker. Illinois has the worst gerrymandering in history when you look at their map. Okay? Illinois, let me give you some stats to show you how unfair gerrymandering is, but it's legal. In Illinois, 47% of the people voted Republican in the congressional races. But you know how many seats were won by Democrats? 18%. 47% of the people in that state, nearly half the state, are Republicans, yet they only have 18% of the seats because of gerrymandering. Maryland, 35% of the people voted Republican. They have one seat for that entire state. Now we get to the really good ones. New Mexico, 45% of the people in New Mexico voted Republican, 0 seats. Connecticut, 40% voted Republican, 0 seats. Massachusetts, they don't even keep track. Massachusetts is gerrymandered so badly that there are virtually no Republican candidates for office. There is no one in the Senate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts or Connecticut. Fundamentally, that's a Republican. You're not going to tell me. Yet, Fall River voted for Trump. You can't get these ticks out of here. The Democrats are complaining and they're fleeing Texas because they're doing exactly what they do. Gerrymandering.
Remember, they act illegally. Look at
It's
Carol
legal.
Viola.
And that's
Look
the
at Carol
problem.
Viola.
I don't agree with it, CJ. I don't think these politicians have enough power already. When you give them the power that we give them, not we, I'm saying we,
We as a people.
I'm being, it's a metaphor. We as a people give these bums 100% control of this state, and this is what you get. Paul Coogan, Maura Healey, Michelle Wu, letting the criminals out, having people homeless and not doing a damn thing about it except flap their gums during an election year. Maura Healey met those clowns in Texas who are not voting for the flood aid. They ran away, and now they're going to be treated as martyrs by Pritzker. In Pritzker's state, there's virtually nobody in Congress that's a Republican because of the way they gerrymandered. What's good for the goose, unfortunately, is also good for the gander. These people are freaking hypocrites. They're psychopaths who want to kill everybody who disagrees with them. And when you give them absolute power like they have in Massachusetts and Connecticut and Rhode Island, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's what we have.
Carol Fiola.
Yep.
Carol Fiola. Oh, and Cheryl. Ponte shot himself in the foot as the campaign began. Okay? By saying that the mayor's position was ceremonious.
Yeah, he
was
ran a terrible
working
campaign
as a real estate broker. Again, who just made that statement recently that he's going to stay with his restaurant open? Christopher Sylvia. He's going to be mayor and still have the restaurant.
Yeah, well, we should change the charter. We shouldn't even have a mayor because lately all the mayors we get, they're horrible. But
Right.
listen, Cliff Ponte wrote a letter fundamentally, that blew himself up before. Plus, he ran a crappy campaign.
He did.
And this organization did absolutely nothing. They sat in there and they took it for granted that Paul Coogan, he would beat Paul Coogan, and you can't take it for granted because listen, Paul Coogan had put together an alliance of all the old ticks to get him back in power.
That's right,
and that's exactly what the hell happened. And
it was a low voter turnout.
And remember, Paul Coogan, when he ran against, it was his second term. He had already started giving out jobs. He'd already got all the big money men lined up. So you have to run a campaign to bring the people who don't normally go to the polls. Remember, every one of those elections had extremely low turnouts. When you get a low turnout, it's going to be the people. Paul's given out so many jobs. Paul said he's bringing back the bags. I heard people say that there was rumors, but I don't know that he definitively said it, Joshua. I don't know, Josh. I don't know where you saw that, but look, he's going to bring back everything. He's running for re-election this year, and the city's already in a toilet. Wait, if he gets re-elected, that's it. He's done. Here come the bags. Here comes the trash pickup fee. Here comes everything. Here comes the debt. And look at what Healy's done. Healy's proposing that cities can override 2.5 because they just want to. 2.5 was implemented to protect the people from being gouged by spendthrift governments like we have in Fall River. So now you're going to tell a city that can't handle its money, they can just say, okay, we've got to override 2.5. Well, see, I'll tell you what, between the people they're allowing in, and we get back to what's happened on the rail trail, what's happened all over the city.
Hey, how about the fact that we're going to get hit with a value-added tax?
Yeah.
Based upon mileage. You're going to get taxed on the mileage on your car. So I guess when you go for your inspection sticker, because they take your mileage there every year.
That's right.
They're going to give you a tax bill. Or worse, they're going to make you pay it at the inspection.
Yeah. It's been dead a long time. It's like having Biden as president. It's like Weekend at Bernie's. They prop him up. Since they waited for 800 calls, this should be, it is a major scandal, Nelson, whether they want to make it or not. And these candidates who are not incumbents, except for Michelle Dion and on the school side, Colin and Kevin, should be out knocking on every door telling them. I prefer to put one over his head.
Hey, what's up? Did you see Stevie's comment? Where is that? Hold on. I got to bring that back.
Where's Stevie's comment?
Oh, no. I got to bring back Stevie's comment that he made. Here we are.
What's up, Jordan? Listen, you get the government that you...
And Carol Costa said, people in this city, all they do is complain and vote for the same people. You're right.
Well, yeah, but it's not the people of Fall River. It's a small. Those low turnouts always favor incumbents, and that, like I said, when you've got to get the people out, you've got to give them something. Yeah, uh, we we can't have 14,000 people and 55,000 registered voters and 14,000 people running the city, which they are. And this is the problem. People are, whether they're disillusioned or they just have that attitude, which I never agreed with, that, there's nothing I can do. Well, there's plenty you can do. I mean, our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence clearly set up this country where, as it says, it is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But it is only that government if the people show up to vote. You can't sit on your ass and complain and not go to the polls. And it's up to the people to get to the polls. It is our fault. As I say, I'm speaking metaphorically. We go to vote in every final election. But the fact is, the people that tune into this show, the people that we see, guys like Jordan, guys like Josh, people who are there, stirring the pot all the time, being the iconoclasts. These are the people. These are the people that show up. But it's the other people that are the followers. Unfortunately, most people are followers, and they wait till something's at critical mass before they show up. They wait until these bums destroy everything. And that's what we're on the verge of right now. Let me make that perfectly clear. This city right now, financially, if all our bills came due, we would be in receivership. This imbecile that we have for a mayor that says, I'm a vice principal, I don't know anything about marijuana, I don't know anything about anything, I'm just a vice principal, but I'm here and I'm the mayor. Well, you have to get people who do know, explain to you, and you have to run the city. You took the job.
Taylor, sometimes you have to ruffle feathers, whether you like it or not. And if you're not going to open your mouth and you're not going to vote, don't bitch. That's what I say to people. If you don't open your mouth and you don't vote, you have no place to bitch. So when your taxes go through the roof and you can't find an apartment for rent, or you can't afford to keep your house, that's your fault.
Yeah, there's an old adage saying, lead, follow, or get out of the way. So it's time for people to follow. Follow the people and follow the candidates who are looking to give you a Fall River that is operated with a very, very simple premise. It is for the people. Yeah, apathy. Well, and there's a million psychological reasons for apathy. Some of it is self-induced apathy because they're frustrated. They get this convoluted logic that there's nothing we can do. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If 40,000 people show up, you won't see these incumbents in anymore. You'll see most of these incumbents gone. Look what happened. Trump took the city. We had 49,000 people vote. We have 14,000 people vote. Paul Coogan gets in. Brad Kilby gets in.
Bruno, it's not about the individual who's qualified to be mayor. It's about the individual who has the right team in place when he or she becomes mayor. Carlton Viveris did not have the best education. Okay? But he had a good team.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's make something perfectly clear. There's nobody qualified to be a mayor and do everything that a mayor has to do, just like there's nobody qualified to be the president of the United States. That's why they have a cabinet. John Kennedy had a cabinet of brilliant minds. Trump's got this Besson, the guy's brilliant. This is what a good mayor is, a guy who knows enough to know what he knows and what he doesn't know, and knows that his job is to protect the people. to protect the people and spend their money wisely. A good mayor says, healthcare is a problem. I'm going to go talk to somebody who knows about healthcare. But does any of these mayors do it? No. The council will say, "Oh, we know somebody who knows healthcare. He even told us what was wrong with healthcare, but we ignored him." No. Leaders know how to reach out to people and surround themselves with people and asks the right questions. Nobody's an expert in everything. Okay? Nobody in a planet knows about everything. And to run a city and a complex city, it's like the police department, all the problems we had in the police department. Did any mayor do what they did in Cranston, call an outside chief from another city to come in? A guy who's an expert at organization of police departments and who can evaluate what's right and wrong and then put them on the right path? No. Did anybody do that in the fire department? No. Does anybody do that with healthcare? No. They talk about me in a council meeting. Oh, Chip knows the numbers. Chip told us this. I sent the mayor a letter predicting this 6 years ago on his transition team. What did he do with it? Nothing. Bruno. The problem is that we got people who get in there and they line their pockets and their friends' pockets. That's what they do. Paul Coogan, right out of the get-go, said he already told you who he was with. The first term.
That's right.
I talked to my banker friends, my lawyer friends, and my developer friends. And then you live in a state like this, that's a crap hole. And you look at this state, and you got a state representative giving her husband a blank check. What they're doing is criminal, but they say, "Oh, don't worry, our ethics commission that's just for us, that we put them on that committee, says it's not. It's okay. It's not unethical for me to file this bill to give my husband the ability to buy all the land down there for 50%, and then make all kinds of money like he's already making." But it's okay. That's right. It is, Jordan. What they're doing is actually criminal. But politicians get away with having RICO violations all the time. I mean, that's what they are. They're acting in collusion. These people are all becoming billion. They're not becoming. I would venture a guess that he's going to be nearly a billionaire when all this is over. I mean, they've been coveting. Yeah, they've been coveting that Taunton River area, the waterfront, for over 40 years. Remember
It's a diamond. It's a diamond.
Yeah. Remember Point Gloria? How many years ago was Point Gloria? Right. Christ was a corporal when they built Point Gloria. That was going to be the beginning of their takeover of the waterfront, but it got delayed. But finally, they figured out a way to grab it, and it was called the MBTA. That was the MBTA came here not to help the people of Fall River. It is totally useless. We all know that. The thing's it's a financial catastrophe only exceeded by the bullet.
They've already cut the schedule.
But it came here to give them total control over the waterfront and its land. It exempted them from all the zoning and things. This is why this was a big deal. The MBTA didn't come down here. It came down here to make all the developers that they're in with zillionaires.
Yeah, because with the MBTA, there's no zoning.
No,
zoning has been thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And since the MBTA has come to Fall River, the schedule has now changed.
Yeah, Wayne Riedel. Yeah. You know how ridiculous Fall River has become? They don't want national chains near the waterfront.
Exactly.
What city that's in the economic condition of Fall River doesn't want businesses to come down here. How absurd is that? That's, I mean, it's, look, it's beyond discussion. These people, like I said, look, here you got Brad and Paul at the committee meeting, city council meeting. Yeah, Paul, where you going? Oh, wait a minute. Let me look up there. Oh, yeah, okay. All right. That's all they do. I got my little pets right here at every show. But look at what they do. I mean, politicians have too much power. You know why? We don't vote enough. People don't throw them out. How can you have a state like Massachusetts, zero? Not one Republican in Washington. How can you, Connecticut, zero. Illinois, 47% of the people voted Republican in the congressional elections, yet there's only 18%, they have only 18% of the seats. In every other state, 45%, New Mexico, 0 seats. 45%, 35% in Maryland, 1 seat. How can you do this? How can in Massachusetts can a city like Fall River vote for Trump, yet we got Auchincloss? Why?
Because that was gerrymandered. Because if you remember, they wanted to put Fall River and New Bedford in the same congressional district.
Yeah.
And what did they say? Oh, no, we can't do that. Fall River and New Bedford would have too much power.
Yeah. But you know what? Yeah, well, of course, Fall River is one of the worst for gerrymandering. But you know why Trump won the election? 49,000 people showed up.
That's right.
You think Trump would have won if the 14,000 people who elected Coogan showed up? No goddamn way he would have done it. No way. Absolutely not. Trump wouldn't have come close in that election because the Cooganites, that's the kryptonite of good government. Here we got, like Superman was allergic to kryptonite. Governments, their kryptonite is the voter, and the voters don't show up. Think about, analyze, look at it. 49,000 people showed up in that election. If 40,000 or 30,000 people show up in this next election, you're going to see a big change. You got to knock on doors like we did. We got some people here that were involved. It's nice to see them back. That were involved in a recall, making noise and knocking on doors and getting people, giving them a cause. Kicking their apathy in the ass. Telling them, get out there and vote. We can make a difference if we show up. And we did make a difference in that recall. We had more people in our recall vote than Coogan had in his last 3 elections. All 3 elections, he had less than we had in the middle of December on one issue. So it's not impossible to get these people out, but it is impossible if the people sit on their asses. That's the way it is. Yeah, 58,000. I'll take 50. Yeah, I don't know if we got 58,000. Last thing I said, Coogan's buying a plane ticket to retirement. Yeah, you're right. Nelson. He will be back. He will sell his Bobby townhouse and move back to Somerset or some other place. That's right. That's what you got to do, Marcy. You got to knock on doors and calling, and you got to make sure you get the follow-up, though. You got to get those people to the polls. You got to track them. You know how to do it. I don't have to explain it to you. You're very, very good at it. And for those who don't know, Marcy, she was part of the Democratic Committee for a very long time. She's extremely knowledgeable in what she's doing, and you just hope that the people you've got to get it. You got to look at the people. We are the government only if we vote. Like I always say, one of my favorite presidents, Theodore Roosevelt, not to be confused with a relative, Franklin, who was a dud, Eleanor, but he said that Rome, the demise of Rome, was when the Roman citizens stopped voting and allowed the government to run itself. And that's what's happened in Fall River. That's what's happened in Massachusetts. We haven't, I don't think we've ever had a Republican, not even close to a Republican majority, not even a something you could call a healthy representation of Republicans in his state ever. Not to my recollection. I don't know, CJ. I don't know. Can you remember?
I don't ever remember. As far as I know, it's the same 6 or 12 Republicans in the House that have been there forever. And that's the problem. We need term limits. But they fought after the people said we need term limits. They turned around and they went to court and got it overturned, saying they need a constitutional convention, which only the elected officials can call.
Well, that's like them now, right now, complaining about gerrymandering when they do it in their own states. Everywhere they're running, they gerrymander. Can you imagine they came here to Massachusetts, got treated as heroes, and they calling the Texas names for doing what Massachusetts has done? I mean, we're one of the worst states in the country. Well, I hope Jeff is right that we have two candidates. I mean, to me, that would be probably one of the most obviously great outcomes we could ever have by bumping a three-term incumbent out in a primary. And he deserves it. I mean, his record is beyond abysmal. I don't think there's an adjective to describe what he's done to this city in 6 years. And he ran on, remember, transparency. 800 calls before we find out about what's going on a rail trail, right? 800 calls. Nobody knows. Paul Coogan of North Korea. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. I think we're a suburb of North Korea.
Well, I hate to put a crack in this, but we've got to talk about that sexual harassment complaint a little bit.
That's right. We get off on that.
We keep giving it little bits and pieces, and then we go on to more national, and we gotta start focusing more on these local political campaigns.
Yeah, but there's not much more than we said, CJ. There's a complaint, and they're all allegations, and it's about drugs. It's about
but it's not the complaint that we need to talk about. Okay, and you're right, Taylor. We need to talk about this. It's the response from the administration.
No, lack thereof.
Right, exactly. As a matter of fact, Colin Dias brought up at the school committee meeting that is the Fall River School generalized question, kind of blanket. Is the Fall River School Department have zero tolerance for sexual harassment? Superintendent Crowley said, that's out of order. That's out of order. You can't ask that question.
No,
and he said, I'm not asking about any specific thing. I'm asking a specific question. And the human resources director turned around and said, against the administration and against Superintendent Crowley, well, I would think so. And then Superintendent Crowley said, that question is out of order.
It is not.
I don't think it is either. But she doesn't want any of that out there.
She's not the chair of the meeting.
No, she's not. But
all right, so she can't rule anything out of order. And secondly, the chair can be questioned about it being out of order. And I would have filed a complaint with the ACLU because this is bullshit. I know for a fact that there is a sexual harassment policy, the federal sexual harassment policy was adopted by the city of Fall River, given in every department, including the school department, and it is sitting in City Hall right now. And this is the problem. No, listen, this is why I get frustrated. I don't want to, listen, we all know what's wrong with the school department. You can't talk about anything because Coogan is truly a dictator. And you've got no rules of order. You got the superintendent ruling things out of order. Who is he? She's not in charge of the meeting. The chair's in charge of the meeting. She doesn't make.
And Paul chimed in 2 words. Paul chimed in 2 words. we need to move on. I think it was, we need to move on, or that is out of order, or something. And Colin was not going to let go. And then the human resources director turns around and says, every complaint, that's come across my desk, I have handled appropriately. Yeah, like the letter we read. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that letter?
Well, apparently we've had sexual harassment suits. We've had numerous complaints. They don't handle anything appropriately. And if they did, tell us how. Show us the policy. Remember what they used for Malone. There's no policy.
That's right.
A lie. That was a lie then. It's a lie now. And because of the fact there's no debate, that's why I'm writing that War and Peace complaint to everybody on the state level. That school department is just catastrophically inept. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, the city council's a semi-disaster. But the school department, these people, they're not, I love the Democrats because what they do is project. And if you don't know what projection is in psychology, it's when you project your issues on somebody else. They call everybody else Nazis and Hitlers and dictators. That's what they are. Paul Coogan couldn't run a meeting. He couldn't run a one-man parade. He knows nothing about parliamentary procedure. It's like I said, it's like he's having a kitchen discussion with his relatives. Oh yeah, stop that. Oh okay, yeah. Oh, this one interrupts that. They're talking between each other. Somebody should give. Does he have a gavel?
I don't know.
Well, if they got a gavel, Paul, the next time somebody, if you don't run the meeting, just every time somebody talks to somebody else without going through the chair, which is the way you're supposed to do the meeting, hit yourself in the head with a gavel. And by the time the meeting's over, you'll probably be dead. And then we won't have to worry about whether you're going to.
The interesting thing was Colin turned around because he was interrupted by Curly and said, "Superintendent, I have the floor. Don't interrupt me." And then Colin asked his question again, and the human resources guy kind of finagled a way around it in a little bit of a way. And Colin said his question once again, and Paul said, "Now who's interrupting who?" This is what happens.
Well, that's like a child in an argument, not a chair, not the chair. The chair is supposed to do it in a specific way. You've chaired meetings. I've chaired hundreds of meetings. Paul Coogan, it looks like there's an 8-year-old in charge of the school committee with a bunch of other 8-year-olds over there. And what they do is do everything behind closed doors.
Stevie's opening up his comedy account again.
Yeah. But look, discussing the school committee is counterproductive because we don't have a school committee. What we have there is a corrupt crime organization. That's what we have for school committee because they do everything behind. Remember what Paul Coogan taught when he ran for his first term. I will be transparent. I will give you a tax break, and I will be honest. None of the above. All three.
I can't go with all three of them, Josh, but.
Well, no, I don't know. You have to put that in context. I think maybe, in relation to Paul, I don't think anybody could be worse than him.
Correct.
So, and if you want to frame it that way, yeah. Okay. And I agree with Jordan. I think it was Jordan at the beginning said anybody but him. Yeah, we've been saying that for a long time. Yeah, well, look at Paul Coogan's paying people for doing nothing to an art form. There's always some political patronage, but this is crazy. And like I said, what's going on in the city is crazy. We cannot have 800 calls. Some of them about serious crimes like rape, armed robbery, and things like this, and just find out about it now. The citizens of Fall River have a right to be informed if there are issues that could endanger them going on in their city. All these things. If there's sexual harassment going on in the school department, it should not be handled behind the scenes and say, yeah, we only had 600 cases, but we handled them all really well. Well, show me you did. Show me what you did. Tell me you had X amount. I want to know how many complaints they got. That's a good question for Colin to ask. How many? Can we merge all three into one person? Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, there's a question. How many sexual harassment complaints have we received? I bet you they don't answer them.
No, they don't.
And they have to.
And I don't know if let me read this. Again, something else to read. I keep getting all these things to read. It's amazing. I think I read this on a previous show. I have no problem reading again. If this issue is placed on the agenda for the next school committee meeting, I respectfully request that the school committee refer the matter to legal counsel, my office, without engaging in any substantive discussion. Public commentary on active litigation could compromise the city's legal position or inadvertently impact the defense of the case. All discussions regarding this issue should take place in executive session with legal counsel present. Alan J. Rumsey, Esquire, Corporation Counsel.
And
City
that is an absolute pile of bullshit.
Yes.
I talked to a real lawyer who had not only been a corporation counsel, who has litigated all over the country, and the city's position in a lawsuit should be that we want to avoid lawsuits by having policies and handling things correctly. Alan, Rumsey, runaway Rumsey, is telling you to hide everything and bury everything so they can make a deal, and they don't have to tell the people how bad they fucked it up. All right? You want to talk plain? Let's talk plain. Rumsey's here because he can't make a living as a real lawyer. Okay? That's bullshit. You're elected public officials by the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, part of the first, Article 5. You are our substitutes and agents at all times and answerable to us. Don't tell me that Colin Dyers, my elected representative to the school committee, can't ask a question or bring it up so the people of Fall River will know what the hell is going on in this city, because you guys are nothing more than a criminal organization hiding everything. And that's the problem with the city. They all got to go. You got one guy that was supposed to be a lawyer that didn't know he could enter into a contract with another guy who he interviewed and gave a big job to about that guy getting money from building his city. Right. And now he's running for DA.
That's right.
You got another crook. He should have lost his law license. If you or I did shit like they do in a real job, you'd be gone. If I violated every rule and regulation in the fire department, I would have gone a long time ago. They were always looking for an excuse to get rid of me because I caused way too much trouble, and so did you. These people, don't listen to these people. Read the damn Constitution of the state. They work for us. They're not in charge. Alan Rumsey is not a judge. He hasn't issued a decree for a gag order. He's a freaking lawyer who they said doesn't even work for us. He works for the mayor. So you know something? Why do we have to pay a salary?
That's right. Let the mayor pay his salary.
We can pay his salary.
That's right.
If he is the mayor's lawyer, not the city of Fall River, and we're the city of Fall River, not Coogan. The people of Fall River are the people. If he's not working for us, let Paul Coogan pay his salary and all the rest of the bozos up there that are covering Coogan's ass.
No, he won't win that, but this is what we go through. And the reason they get away with it I think Fatima asked that question. Okay, why are they getting away with it? Why? Because nobody can take them to court without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Yep. Nope, you're right, CJ. It's not, they said, it's not that the city's always right. It's that nobody can afford to litigate things because you'll go bankrupt and they're going to use your own money, your
That's
tax
right.
dollars, their tax money to drag it out forever and you're going to go
That's right.
bankrupt. It's because they're wrong. How many, just think about it. Of all the lawsuits we've seen filed against the city, have they ever won one?
Nope.
No. And you remember that opinion about 10 or 15 years ago when the judge in Boston said, I am sick and tired of seeing Fall
River in my court
for violating the law.
Right.
You remember? Yeah.
I
And that's
remember that.
exactly what the judge said in Boston. He said, I'm sick and tired of seeing these bozos from Fall River coming up here when their lawyers violate the law routinely. But if we could take them, like I said, they all must like novenas. That I never win the Powerball because I told you, I'm not kidding. I would hire an entire battery of lawyers and I would sue the ass off this city for everything he did. I tried to file a couple of complaints with the Board of Bar of this year. Says, oh, you got no standing. Yeah. Well, he's interfering. I'm going to file another one and have them tell me again that I don't have a standing, that Rumsey is telling a city public official not to tell me in violation of our Constitution what's going on. Because that's what our Constitution says. They're answerable to us at all times, not just like they feel like it. Okay, I'm reading it now. No, you're right. You're right, Taylor. And this is what we're talking about. But all you can say now is that, look, I wish them luck. I wish them luck. I wish they would have hired I don't know Mr. Finglas. I hope he's a good lawyer, but I know a lot of great lawyers in Boston that would have taken his city for millions, literally millions. And we all know what's going on up there. We know he got a year with pay, and everything was squashed. We know all the and that's the problem.
Well,
oh man. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Fred. I'm going to file a whole bunch of stuff, but thing is that this is what happens in a state like Massachusetts. They just send it back and go.
Yeah, everything gets buried.
You got no standing.
Right. On Friday, we will be starting our show approximately a half an hour early at 4:30 because I have a wedding rehearsal to be at 6.
Congratulations.
So we have to start early because we've been running an hour-long show. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for your participation. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable because those douchebags are going to take you to the cleaners every time. Have a great evening. We'll see you on Friday.